Most people think of firefighters as heroes. But in ancient Rome, the first organized firefighting force was not created to protect the public. It was created to make one man richer. Rome in the late Republic was one of the largest cities in the world, with nearly 1 million people crowded into a maze of narrow streets and towering apartment buildings called insulae. These buildings were often poorly constructed. Many rose 5 or 6 stories high, supported by wooden beams and cheap masonry. Inside, hundreds of residents lived in cramped rooms where cooking fires burned constantly and oil lamps provided light after dark. In such conditions, fire was one of the greatest dangers in the city. Ancient writers frequently mention how quickly flames could spread through entire districts. Narrow streets trapped heat, and wind pushed the fire from one building to the next. Once a blaze began, it could destroy entire blocks before anyone could stop it. And in the late Roman Republic, there was no organized public fire department to respond. Firefighting was usually improvised. Neighbors formed bucket chains. Slaves carried water from fountains. Sometimes buildings were torn down to stop the flames from spreading. Into this dangerous environment stepped one of the most ambitious and controversial men in Roman history, Marcus Licinius Crassus. Crassus would later become famous as the richest man in Rome and as one of the 3 members of the political alliance known as the First Triumvirate, alongside Julius Caesar and Pompey. But long before that, he built much of his wealth through real estate. According to the historian Plutarch, Crassus assembled a large group of slaves trained in construction work. These slaves included builders, architects, and laborers who could demolish damaged structures or repair buildings after disasters. Altogether, this workforce reportedly numbered around 500 men. Because fires were so common in Rome, this construction force often arrived quickly when a building caught fire. Their skills allowed them to tear down walls, isolate burning structures, and prevent flames from spreading further through the crowded streets. But Crassus used this system in a way that greatly benefited him. Plutarch writes that when fires broke out, Crassus would approach the owners of the burning or damaged buildings and offer to buy the property. The price was usually very low because the owners feared losing everything in the disaster. If the owner agreed to sell, Crassus would send in his crews to manage the situation. They could demolish surrounding structures to stop the fire, stabilize the damaged building, or begin clearing the rubble once the flames had been extinguished. If the owner refused, the building might simply burn until it collapsed. In this way, fires often became opportunities for Crassus to expand his property holdings. Once the disaster passed, his crews could rebuild on the site. New apartment buildings would rise where the damaged ones had stood, and the land would now belong to him. Over time, this strategy allowed Crassus to accumulate a vast amount of property throughout the city of Rome. Ancient sources do not claim that Crassus started fires himself, but they do describe how effectively he used disasters to acquire valuable land at very low prices. This combination of construction crews, rapid response to fires, and aggressive property buying helped make Crassus one of the wealthiest individuals in Roman history. The situation also revealed a serious weakness in Rome's urban infrastructure. For much of the Republic, the city relied on private individuals and improvised efforts to deal with fires. Only later, under the Emperor Augustus, would Rome finally establish an organized public firefighting force. Around 6 AD, Augustus created the vigiles, a large state-run corps responsible for patrolling the city at night and responding to fires. Thousands of trained firefighters were now stationed throughout Rome to protect its crowded neighborhoods. For the first time, firefighting became a public service rather than a private opportunity. But during the chaotic years of the late Republic, when flames appeared above the rooftops of Rome, they often signaled something else entirely. For Marcus Licinius Crassus, every fire meant another chance to expand his fortune.